Moadim Lesimcha, welcome back. We are in the 12th chapter of Qiddush HaHodesh. This chapter starts getting to really the Sod HaIbur, and just to understand it, I need to remind you of something. So again, we are on Earth. Earth is fixated, it's fixed, it doesn't move, and we have a few movements around Earth that we can observe from Earth. Number one that happens every around 24 hours is the Galgal. It's the entire cosmos, the entire universe revolves around us every 24 hours. So from our scientific point of view today, we'd say that Earth is rotating around its own axis every 24 hours or so. It's a little under 24 hours. But in the lingo of these chapters, we have to understand that the Galgal itself, the universe itself, is revolving around us. That's number one. That happens every 24 hours. If you recall, that same universe, that same Galgal that we are seeing is divided into 360 degrees. Those 360 degrees are subdivided in sections of 30 degrees each named as a certain mazal. And that is the first movement. Secondly, we have the movement of the moon around Earth every 29.5 days and change. And then we have the movement of the sun around Earth, which we already started saying last time. Although it goes around Earth, Earth is not on its center. Earth is on the center, on the epicenter of the Galgal, the ultimate Galgal, the one of the cosmos. But the sun is a little removed from Earth. And that is pretty much the subject of this chapter, how to calculate the advancement of the sun around the Earth. And this chapter in particular is going to look at the axis of the sun with respect to its own orbit. So it's not with the Earth on the center, but rather Mahalach HaEmsa'i, which means you take the midpoint, the epicenter of the sun's orbit, which is not the Earth, and then within that orbit, that's what we are going to try to calculate in this chapter, how that works out in terms of how much it advances per day. Okay, הלכה א', מהלך השמש האמצעי ביום אחד, שהוא 24 שעות, 59 חלקים ו8 שניות, סימנם נ"ט ח'. The amount of distance that the sun covers in the מהלך האמצעי, again, this is with respect to its own epicenter, not with respect to Earth, on one day, which is 24 hours. We also know it's not 24 hours, but for this purpose, it's 24 hours, is 59 halakim. Halakim was the first subdivision of the degree. So the degree is 60 halakim. This is 59 halakim. It's just under a degree, obviously, because we are dividing 360 into 365 and change. ושמונה שניות, and 8 subdivisions of the degree is נ"ט ח', 59, 8. נמצא מהלכה ב10 ימים, so just juxtaposing this to more days, if you take this for 10 days, 9 מעלות ו51 חלקים ו3 שניות, then you'll have 9 degrees, 51 minutes, and 23 seconds, סימנם ט' נ' א' כ' ג'. ונמצא מהלכה ב100 יום, 89 מעלות ו33 חלקים ו3 שניות, and in 100 days, you'll have 98 degrees, 33 minutes, and 53 seconds. סימנם צדי ח' למד ג' נ' ג'. ונמצא שארית מהלכה ב1000 יום, and if you take it to 1,000 days, so remember, every time we pass through 360 degrees, we zero it out, so the she'erit, what's left over, after we cancel out all the multiples of 360, on 1,000 days, אחר שתשליך כל 360 מעלות כמו שביארנו, 265 מעלות ו38 חלקים ב50 שניות, סימנם רסה לך נון. So if you do that, you cancel out all the 360s, what you have left over in the 360-degree sphere, the galgal, is going to be 265 degrees, 38 minutes, and 50 seconds. ונמצא שארית מהלכה ב10,000 יום, and if you take this to 10,000 days, 136 מעלות או 8 חלקים ו20 שניות, סימנם קוף למדוו, כף ח' כף, then you'd have 136 degrees, and 20 seconds. ועל הדרך הזה תכפול ותושים ההלכה לכל מניין שתרצה. And following this, you can obviously apply this to any amount you want. וכן אם תרצה לעשות סימנים ידועים אצלך למהלכה לשני ימים ולשלושה ולארבעה עד 10 תעשה. And so too, if you want to have specific units of time, so if you want to have a table where you specify for however many days how many degrees this corresponds to, if that's going to make calculations easier for you, go for it. וכן אם תרצה להיות לך סימנים ידועים מוכנים למהלכה ל-20 יום ול-30 ול-40 עד 100 תעשה. Also if you want to do this for 20, for 30, for 40, until 100, do this. ודבר גלוי הוא וידוע מאחר שידעת מהלך יום אחד, and this is all very clear and knowable once you know how much it advances one day, which again is 59 minutes and 8 seconds of a degree. So it's just under 1 degree. וראוי הוא להיות מוכן וידוע אצלך מהלך אמצע השמש 9 ו-20 יום, בין 304 ו-50 יום, שמימשת הלבנה בזמן שחודשיה כסדרם, והיא הנקראת שנה סדורה. And it's proper and it's appropriate, you should know how much the sun advances every 29 days, 354 days. Why is that? 354 days is a lunar year of the kinds of years where we do Kesidram, where we do Heshvan and Kislev 29 and 30 respectively. I'm sorry, 30. So Tishrei 30, Mar Heshvan 29, Kislev 30, and so on and so forth until the end of the year. שבזמן שיהיו לך מסעיות אלו מוכנים, because if you have these numbers ready, יהיה חשבון כאן עליך לראיית הירח. This is going to ease the calculations for seeing the moon. 20 יום גמורים מליל הראייה עד ליל הראייה של החודש הבא, because 29 days is what you have at least 29 days between the one sighting of the moon and the next sighting of the moon. וכן בכל חודש וחודש אין פחות מ9 ו-20 יום ולא יותר. So every month and month, it's never going to be less than 29 days. שאין חפשנו בכל אלו החשבונות אלא לדעת הראייה בלבד, because what we want to know in all of these calculations, all what we are really concerned with is not actually knowing where the sun is, which is also an interesting subject of astronomy, but rather we want to really pinpoint where the moon should be. That is our main concern. הראייה של החודש זה על ליל הראייה לאותו החודש לשנה הבאה, שנה סדורה, או שנה ויום אחד. Also, if you want to calculate from the ראייה of 1 month, let's say the ראייה of Aleph Nisan of year 1 to the ראייה Aleph Nisan of year 2, you can also count exactly 345 days, or a little, or one more day than that. 354 rather, or 355 days. וכן בכל שנה ושנה, and so to every single year. ומהלך השמש האמצעי ל9 ו-20 יום, and Haramam is going to give you these numbers. It's going to ease your calculation. And if you want to know how much the sun goes around its own axis, its epicenter, in terms of degrees within its own orbit, within the duration of 29 days, שמונה ו-20 מעלות ו-5 ו-30 חלקים, the sun goes 28 degrees and minutes and 1 second. ומהלכה לשנה סדורה and 55 minutes ו-15 שניות and 15 seconds, סימנן שמח נון ה' ט"ו. הלכה ב'. Now we're going to describe the orbit of the sun with respect to Earth. So you have to, again, imagine the axis of the sun. Just imagine it's a few thousands of miles away from Earth, okay? Now this very axis also rotates around Earth. That is the way they had to explain the elliptical motion that we see, which is really the Earth around sun. But in order to do that, they had to explain that the spheres were really not aligned around each other, and that Earth wasn't really in the center of it all. נקודה החודש בגלגל השמש וכן בשאר גלגלי השבעה כוכבים בעת שיהיה הכוכב בה, יהיה גבוה מעל הארץ כל מאודו. So now imagine the orbit of the sun with Earth somewhere in the middle of it, but not at its center. So there is always going to be one spot that is the farthest spot from Earth. And as the axis, as the epicenter of the sun's orbit rotates itself around Earth, that farthest spot also rotates with it. That spot is called the gova. It's an important concept. It's called the gova, the height, maximum distance between sun and Earth. And during certain times, it's going to be closer than that. During certain times, it's going to be farther than that. ואותה הנקודה שלגלגל השמש ושאר הכוכבים חוץ מן הירח סובבת בשווה. And other than the moon, this epicenter, the center of the orbit of the sun that is going around the Earth, this orbiting of that center around the Earth, or rather of the gova of the Shemesh around the Earth, is going to go in a very stable, a very non-accelerating, constant motion. Other than the moon is a little different; it has another adjustment, but this is how you can really create an elliptical shape by having one circle inside another circle, and the center of one circle, the center of the other circle. ומהלכה בכל 70 שנה בקירוב מעלה אחת. And every 70 years, the epicenter, or rather the gova of the sun, the farthest point, that largest distance between sun and Earth, moves with respect to Earth every 70 years 1 degree. ונקודה זוהי הנקראת גובה. And that's what we call the gova. גובה השמש, מהלכו בכל 10 ימים. So now that we know that every 70 years is 1 degree, that's the hardest part to understand. By the way, if you're following on YouTube or you have the Makbili edition, absolutely look at these diagrams, which really, one picture can be much more than 1,000 words. It's really the understanding. So, גובה השמש מהלכו בכל 10 ימים שנייה אחת וחצי שנייה. Every 10 days, the sun, the gova of the sun is going to be, and this is just dividing, this is a very simple calculation, is dividing what in one, if in 70 years it moves 1 degree, how much does it move every 10 days? So every 10 days is sheniya hat v'chatzi sheniya. It's 1.5 say sheloshim shelishiyot, and a half a second is it's 30 thirds. So again, you have the degrees, then you have the minutes. The minutes are 60th of a degree. Then each minute is subdivided into 60 seconds, and each second is subdivided into 60 thirds. So this is a very fine, a very difficult to perceive and to pinpoint distance, but every 10 days, the height of the sun, the gova Hashemesh, which is again the longest distance the Shemesh achieves from Earth within its orbit, is going to be really 90 shelishiyot, if you want to see it this way. נמצא מהלכו ביום 15 שניות, so if you take this to 100 days is going to be 15 seconds, ומהלכו ב1000 יום שני חלקים ו30 שניות, and if you take it for 1,000 days it's going to be 2 minutes and 30 seconds, ומהלכו ב10,000 יום, and every 10,000 days, 25 חלקים, it's 25 minutes. נמצא מהלכו ל29 יום, in other words, counting from בריאת אדם הראשון, the sun hasn't yet moved its orbit around Earth even once, or maybe it has, I'm sorry, it has. ונמצא מהלכו ל29 יום 4 שניות, ומהלכו בשנה סדורה 3 ו-50 שניות. 9 days, which is an important number to have, is going to be 4 seconds, and every year, lunar year, is going to be 35 seconds. כבר אמרנו שהעיקר שממנו ההתחלה בחשבון זהו מתחילת ליל חמישי שיומו שלישי לחודש ניסן משנת 830 ליסירה. הרמב"ם says, I already explained that I'm going to calculate everything from this day that he arbitrarily chose around his lifetime, Rambam's lifetime, which is the night before Thursday, which is the 3rd of Nisan of the year 4938 to the Yesira. ומקום השמש במהלכה האמצעי היה בעיקר הזה, and I'm going to tell you, says the Rambam, during this day where exactly the sun was within its own orbit. That's Hashem האמצעי, again, its own orbit, not the orbit of the earth, which is going to be ha'amiti, which is the subject of the next chapter. היה בעיקר הזה בשבע מעלות ושלושה חלקים ושתיים ושלושים שניות במזל טלה. So it was within מזל טלה, and it was within מזל טלה on the 7th degree, 3rd minute, 34th second. ומקום גובה השמש, and within this orbit itself, the farthest the sun could get from Earth within this orbit, היה בעיקר זה, when the sun was around this time, so its orbit, its farthest point in its orbit was ב-6 מעלות ו-45 חלקים ו8 שניות ממזל תאומים. It was in מזל תאומים, which is not Taleh, it's after, it's 2 after that, and it was in 26 degrees, 45 minutes and 8 seconds. And all of this is much, much simpler if you draw it down or if you write it down, just listening to it, if you're driving or anything like that. I admit it's not going to, you're probably not going to retain it unless you are 1,000 times, unless you're, much, much smarter than the average and can retain things on the go like that just by hearing them and can. כשתרצה לידע מקום השמש במהלכה האמצעי כל זמן שתרצה, if you ever want to know where the sun is, again in its מהלך האמצעי, within its own orbit, whenever you want, so what's the formula? תיקח מניין הימים שמתחילת יום העיקר. Now that I've given you the העיקר, just take how many days have passed from that time, עד היום שתרצה, until whatever day you want, ותעשי מהלכה האמצעי באותם הימים מן הסימנים שהודענו, and then just following the very simple additions that we gave before by how much the sun goes every whatever days, you take from that העיקר and you add it up and you get it. ותוסיף הכל על העיקר, ותקבץ כל מין מינו, and then you add up the seconds to minutes, the minutes to degrees, the degrees every 360 you reset. ויוסהו מקום השמש במהלכה האמצעי לאותו היום, and that's how you get where the sun is within its own orbit that day. כיצד? An example. הרי שרצינו לידע מקום השמש האמצעי בתחילת ליל השבת, שיומו 14 יום לחודש תמוז בשנה זו. Let's say Rambam says we want to take the 14th of Tammuz of this year, which is going to be the beginning of Leil Shabbat. Sheish is the benchmark year. מצאנו מניין הימים מיום העיקר לתחילת יום זה שאנו רוצים לידע מקום השמש בו 100 יום. So first I see how many days there is between the Aikar, the actual benchmark day, and that day that I chose. So it happens to be this example that there is 100 days. לקחנו אמצע מהלכה ל100 יום. Then we take it's שהוא צד יחת למד גימל נון גימל 8, 33, 53 degrees, minutes and seconds. והוספנו על העיקר, and then we added up to the העיקר, שהוא זין גימל למד ב', which was 7 degrees, 3 minutes and 32 seconds. יצא מן החשבון, 105 מעלות, so what we have is 105 degrees, ו37 חלקים, ו5 ו20 שניות, and 37 minutes and 25 seconds, סימנם ק"ה למ"ז כ"ה, ונמצא מקומה במהלך אמצעי בתחילת ליל זה במזל סרטן, and that's how we know that this is going to correspond to the area that we call mazal sartan, the 30 degrees sliver of this sphere that's called mazal sartan. ב-15 מעלות בו, 15 degrees into mazal sartan, ו37 חלקים ממעלת 16, and then 37 degrees from 37 minutes from the 16th degree. והאמצע שיעשה בחשבון זה, פעמים יהיה בתחילת הלילה בשווה, או קודם שקיעת החמה בשעה, או אחר שקיעת החמה בשעה. And if you use this אמצע, using these formulations, if you want to know what you're trying to calculate, what you're going to end up having, the exact positioning of the sun, is going to be the position of the sun within half an hour or after Shakiat Hamma. By the way, just as a very as an aside, for some people, and Mori Kafeh says this as well, he believed that for Harambam, the Shaki'ah itself was of long duration, which means that according to Mori Kafeh, what we call Tzeta Kochavim, which is about 20 minutes after Shekiah, that's true, but it's not after the beginning of the Shekiah, it's after the end of the Shekiah, and he believed that for Harambam there was a length to the Shekiah. I think, according to Rabbeinu Avraham and Rambam, this is not the case. According to Rabbi Yoshua Nagi, this is not the case. According to some other Rishonim that were considered themselves students of Rambam, that's not the case also. And I think that this halacha could be shown to be a very nice proof against Mori Kafech alav shalom, Nishmato Eden, because according to this, granted, but according to this, Shaki'ah is an instant, and you have half an hour before it and half an hour after it, and there is no time here to account for a long Shaki'ah like Mori Kafeh would have had it. So I'm not sure if anyone points this halacha as a re'ayah to it, but I just wanted to point it out and have it in the recording because I think it's a nice Hiddush. ודבר זה, לא תחוש לו בשמש בחשבון הראייה שהרי אנו משליבים כרוזב כשנחשב לאמצע הירח. And don't worry that we are not getting exactly where the sun is and we are estimating within a 1 hour range, because when we go down to analyzing where exactly the moon is, then we are going to go down to a much greater degree of accuracy. ועל הדרך זאת תעשה תמיד לכל עת שתרצה ואפילו אחר 1000 שנים. הרמב"ם says you can use this formula to calculate whenever you want, even for 1,000 years, שתקבל את כל השארית ותוסיף על העיקר, and then obviously you cancel out every 360 degrees and then you add it to the העיקר. יעשה לך המקום האמצעי, that's how you're going to know where in its own orbit the sun is. And again, the sun's orbit around its own axis, according to this view of the world, is uniform, is consistent, it's constant. It's a 360 degrees at a very constant speed, so it's a very easy calculation. Not so much when you introduce the second sphere, as we are going to see in the next chapter. So have the same exact formulas should be used, obviously, the orbit of the orbit. Once you know one day, and you know where to begin, then you add up everything beginning to start from. That's how we are going to know where it can be uniform. The same thing you should do with respect to the Gova HaShemesh, because the Gova HaShemesh as well, given that its own center is orbiting around Earth, or around the Galal, however you look at it, They both have the same orbit, Earth and the Galgal. Earth is the center of the Galgal. So the highest point, the most distant point of the circumference of the sun, the orbit of the sun, it's also rotating. We said 1 degree every 70 years. So you know the pace of that rotation, and you can use the same formulas with different numbers to know how much that gova is advancing, and that gova is going to be important for the next chapter. יישא לך מקום גובה השמש לאותו היום שתרצה. וכן אם תרצה לעשות לך עיקר אחר שתתחיל ממנו חוץ מהעיקר זה שהתחלנו ממנו בשנה זו, הרמב"ם says, even if you wanted to make to yourself another benchmark day, other than the one that I presented, which is in my lifetime, says הרמב"ם, כדי שיהיה לך אותו עיקר בתחילת שנת מחזור ידוע, בתחילת 100 מן המאות הרשות בידיך, so that if you want for it to coincide with the beginning of any מחזור, or to coincide with the beginning of any century, that's fine, you should do it as well, and הרמב"ם is going to tell you how. ואם תרצה להיות העיקר שתתחיל ממנו משנים שעברו קודם עיקר זה, או לאחר כמה שנים מהעיקר זה, הדרך ידועה. And then, if you want this עיקר from which you'll begin to be, to belong to the past, or to be a distant date in the future, do it as well, and the way to do this is known. כיצד היא הדרך, and what's the way to establish a new עיקר, a new benchmark day? כבר ידעת מהלך השמש לשנה סדורה ומהלכה לתשעה ועשרים יום ומהלכה ליום אחד. So you know already how much the sun advances within its 360-degree orbit for every year. You know how much it advances every 29 days. You know how much it advances every one day. בדבר ידוע שהשנה שחודשיה שלמים היא יתרה על הסדורה יום אחד, and you know that a year of which its months are שלמים, that both Heshvan and Kislev have 30 days, it's going to have another one more day of 12 lunar, in terms of 12 lunar months. והשנה שחודשיה חסרים, היא חסרה מן הסדורה יום אחד, and also if both Mar Heshvan and Kislev have 29 days, it's going to be 353 days, not 354 days. והשנה מעוברת, and you also know that a year that is extended, אם היו חודשיה כסדרם, תהיה יתרה לשנה הסדורה 30 יום. If its months were kesidram, in other words, 29 and 30, then it's going to be 30 days more than the Shana Sedura, namely 384 days. And if its months were complete, 30 and 30, then it's going to be 385 days. And if its months were missing, 353 days, then it's going to have 382 days, 383 days, 29 days more than the 354 days of the Sedura. That's how long each of these years is going to be. Now that you know, you have all of this information, all of these numbers, that's how you can calculate how much the sun advances for each of these years, because you have the unit of days, and you know how many days in every year. So it's a very simple calculation that probably any 12-year-old can do. So take our Aikar, the Aikar I gave you. He's not teaching you, Rambam, how to observe the positioning of the Shemesh on the Aikar day that he established. He's already giving you that information. But starting from that Aikar, then you add up however many days you want, forward or backwards, because you know how many days is each year, you know how many days is each month, and so on and so forth. And you know how much the sun advances on each day. And then after you have that number, that positioning in degrees within the orbit of the sun, then you determine, you fix that date with that positioning within the degrees, and you start from there. You have that as your Aikar, as your benchmark. You can do the same thing with the moon and with the other planets. If you had some information about them, like we have about the sun. And by what we just said, you understand that not only you can calculate where the sun is going to be. In the future, you can also know where the sun was within its own orbit in any day past. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.